Batman understood something about fear that most people spend their entire lives running from, and it's the same reason you still flinch when a spider crawls across your desk, even though you could crush it with your pinky finger. There is a moment in Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins that acts as the fulcrum for the entire psychology of the character. Alfred asks Bruce, "Why a bat, Master Wayne?" And Bruce replies, "Bats frighten me. It's time my enemies shared my dread." On the surface, this is tactical. It's camouflage. But imagine for a moment that this is actually a philosophical transmutation. Bruce isn't just saying, "I want to look scary." He is suggesting a much more radical hypothesis. To survive the storm, you must become the wind. Consider the image of a child on Halloween, a 4-year-old who is terrified of ghosts. What do? They take a white linen sheet from the hallway closet, cut 2 holes in it, and drape it over their head. In that moment, the child stops scanning the corners of the room for spirits. Why? Because the child is the haunting. The sheet is a shield. A bat costume doesn't just say, "I'm scary." It whispers something stranger. I don't fear bats. I am one. Think about dragons for a moment. In almost every story, dragons are the final exam of fear. Fire, scales, wings, ancient power stacked on top of ancient hunger. And yet, there's a funny question hiding inside that myth. Who isn't afraid of dragons? A dragon. Fear doesn't travel sideways. It travels down, smaller, weaker, slower, less certain. A dragon doesn't panic at the sound of its own wings. A bat doesn't flinch at the dark. What is rightfully the most feared animal on this planet? Not the lion with its fangs, not the bear with its claws, not the eagle with its talons. It's the Homo sapien. No natural weapons, no protective fur, no venom. Just these fragile, hairless apes who figured out how to turn rocks into rockets. Imagine we resurrect a T-Rex. Or, let's go more mythical. Imagine a dragon lands in the middle of Central Park. Scales hard as diamonds, breath of fire, claws the size of scythes. Your immediate instinct is to say, we should run. But should we? If we look at the data without sentimentality, what is the single most terrifying organism to ever walk the surface of this planet? It isn't the megalodon, it isn't the dragon, it is the Homo sapien. We have no jaws to speak of, our fingernails are brittle, we have no fur to stop the cold, we are soft, watery bags of meat, and yet we are the extinction event. If that dragon landed in New York, it wouldn't be a horror movie for us. It would be a horror movie for the dragon. It would face a swarm of tiny hairless monkeys wielding machine guns, drone strikes, and tactical nuclear options. In that world, who learns fear? Probably not the monkeys. We've become the thing that monsters check for under their beds. So why do we feel fear? Why do we feel vulnerable when walking alone at night? It is perhaps because we forget what we are. We forget that we are the machine gun monkeys. We revert to the psychology of the prey, ignoring the reality of our position. But dragons, if they were real, they would know. They would know that when a human walks into a cave, the cave doesn't belong to the dragon anymore. If we are biologically the most dangerous things on Earth, then fear is arguably a glitch. Or more accurately, it's a story we haven't edited yet. Batman is a masterclass in editing that story. He realizes that fear is not a reaction to biological reality. It is a reaction to narrative. If you change the narrative, you change the chemical reaction in your brain. Bruce Wayne realizes that humans fear other humans, but that fear is specific. It's about specific people, specific intents. We don't run every time we see a person, but we would run if we saw a demon. So he becomes the demon. He leverages the dragon logic. He knows that criminals are superstitious, that they rely on the predictable narrative of I have a gun, therefore I am safe. Batman disrupts the narrative. He introduces a genre shift. He turns their crime drama into a ghost story. Homo sapiens might be the only species that doesn't rely on its body to negotiate fear. We outsource it, we project it, we narrate it, we turn imagination into infrastructure, and that's why fear between humans is different. You don't automatically run when another person appears on the horizon. Their presence alone doesn't trigger the ancient alarm bells. Fear between humans requires context, story, history, symbols, uniforms, masks, which means fear isn't fixed, it's conditional, editable. Storytelling does this all the time. Myths don't erase monsters, they reframe them. The dark forest doesn't disappear, someone learns its name. The shadow doesn't shrink, someone steps into it and finds it fits. Even spiders work this way. A spider on the wall is terror. A spider in a documentary becomes architecture. Precision, patience, engineering. Same creature, different narrative. Fear negotiated through framing. So imagine a future where humans become increasingly aware of this, where identity becomes less about what you are and more about what fear believes you are, and where people don't ask, what am I afraid of? But instead ask, what shape would make this fear irrelevant? Every time you face a fear, you're standing at the same crossroads as Bruce Wayne in that cave. You can remain the person who fears the bat, or you can become the bat. You can stay the one who runs from spiders, or you can remember that you're part of the species that literally reshapes planets. The costume doesn't make you fearless. The story does. The narrative you choose to inhabit, to embody, to become. Because here's what that spider in your bathroom doesn't know. It should be terrified. It's sharing space with a member of the only species that has ever looked at the food chain and said, no, thank you. We'll create our own. You don't need a cape or a cowl. You're already wearing the most fearsome costume in the known universe, human skin. The question isn't whether you can overcome your fears. The question is whether you'll remember what you already are. And maybe that's why Batman's real superpower was never about the gadgets or the training. It was about that moment in the cave when he stopped running from the bat and decided to become one. Because once you understand that fear is just a story and stories can be rewritten, well, that spider in your bathroom doesn't stand a chance.